prices, there are some things that are weighing on this recovery, and so there's no guarantee that this kind of stronger job growth continues.
Okay, what about the high gas prices? We're expecting them to get worse if the Libyan situation continues, the problems with the budget. I mean, could this unravel all the gains?
It could. You know, when gas prices are higher, when oil prices are higher, it acts like a tax on American consumers. It costs them more to fill up their cars, to buy food at the grocery store. And the both the federal and state governments are cutting back. Just this month, we saw that state and local governments cut 30,000 jobs, and that was a drain even as the private sector gained. As those trends continue, that will be a drain. And the question is the private sector job growth strong enough to make up for those drags?
Okay, Neil, good to have you on the show with us, Neil Owen. Well, after 41 years, Harvard University has lifted its ban on a U.S. military training program on campus. The Reserve Officer Training Corps was kicked out in opposition to the Vietnam War. The policy continued in protest of the military's ban on gays serving openly in the armed forces. Now that Congress has repealed the ban, Harvard is allowing the program back onto campus. And a U.S. government contractor is on trial in Cuba, charged with acts against the integrity and independence of the country. Cuban prosecutors say Alan Gross faces a 20-year sentence for illegally supplying communications equipment to the island. Gross was jailed in December 2009 while working for the U.S. Agency for International Development. And that's it from Washington. Back to you in Doha.
Thanks, Jane. And Zoe will be here with all the sport, including all the International Cricket World Cup news. Stay with us.
Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter. Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter.
What Gaddafi has done, he dismantled or destroyed the system in the country.
As chaos and violence sweep across Libya.
They're living through fear, they're living through a nightmare.
They're using ammunition, live ammunition.
AlJazeera hears from those who have lived in fear of Gaddafi's regime.
We don't want him to leave. We want to arrest him. 42 years is too much.
Libya, a state of terror. At this time on AlJazeera.
Time right now for all the sport. Here's Zoe.
Thanks very much. Well, we'll start with the Cricket World Cup, where the West Indies team bus was attacked by angry fans in Bangladesh. An International Cricket Council spokesman said that no one was hurt, but the West Indies team management are to discuss the incident with the ICC. It followed the Windies' 9-wicket demolition of the co-hosts in Group B. Rao Pathak has more.
The heavy security outside the Sher Bangla National Stadium before Friday's game, an indication that authorities were prepared for the worst. But early on, the mood amongst the crowds was one of celebration. After beating Ireland in their last match, the Bangladesh fans knew that a win for their team against the West Indies would go a long way towards securing a quarter-final berth. But after just 3 deliveries of this Group B clash, all that optimism evaporated as the Bangladesh batsmen succumbed to the West Indies bowlers. The crowd briefly found its voice as Junaid Siddiqui hit 25, but when he was dismissed, the innings quickly subsided. 58 all out, the 4th lowest score in World Cup history. It was never going to test the West Indies batsman, Chris Gayle, knocking off the runs with a minimum of fuss in a now near-empty stadium. The West Indies eventually winning by 9 wickets. They go second in Group B.
We won, but we didn't expect it to be so easy. But it shows if we play together as a team and all the guys execute properly, you know, anything is possible.
Meanwhile, in Group A, there was a bit more of a contest between Zimbabwe and New Zealand. Zimbabwe at least managed to make it to 3 figures in Ahmedabad, but their final score of 162 was well short of what could be called a competitive total, as New Zealand openers Martin Guptill and Brendan McCullum smashed 166 for the opening wicket. But the real test for the Kiwis will be to repeat this kind of performance against some of the bigger teams in this tournament. Rahul Pathak, AlJazeera.
Saturday sees a repeat of the 2007 World Cup final as holders Australia faced co-host Sri Lanka. Both sides were heavily fancied before the tournament, and for Sri Lanka it's a chance to justify their billing as one of the favourites, particularly after their defeat to Pakistan. For Australia, the game is the first big challenge as they aim for a 4th straight title. A win for either side will move them level with group leaders Pakistan, and Australia captain Ricky Ponting knows the outcome could be decided by how well each side deals with the bowling attack.
You know, whenever we come to the subcontinent, we always put up a good showing in whether it be World Cups or one-off one-day series. We've managed to still be very competitive and, if not win, a lot more often than we've actually lost in this part of the world. So that indicates to me that we actually play probably spin bowling a bit better than what everyone gives us credit for.
We've got a lot of things to cover today in the sense of basics and making sure that our attitude's nice and positive and aggressive right throughout the game, rather than concentrating on too much on the final outcome or the big things that we need to do. It's easier and I think much better that we think of the little processes of our attitude on the field, of bowling good areas, of building partnerships.
To football now, and Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger has defended Manchester City defender Kolo Touré after he failed a drugs test. Touré could face a 2-year ban from the game, but his former boss believes he failed the test after taking a diet pill belonging to his wife. Manchester City say the Côte d'Ivoire international has been suspended after testing positive for a specified substance. Touré arrived at City from Arsenal for $22 million 2 years ago and was club captain last season before Carlos Tevez took over at the beginning of this season.
He's a boy who has a clean life, very honest living, always at home, family man, and I do not suspect him at all to have taken enhanced drugs to enhance his performances. He wants to control his weight a little bit because that's where he has some problems, and he took the product of his wife.
Well, Wenger's side faced Sunderland on Saturday in the English Premier League. A win would leave them just 1 point behind leaders Man United, who travel to Liverpool on Sunday. The maths is simple for Arsenal: win all their remaining games and they'll be crowned champions. And with Sunderland arriving at the Emirates Stadium on the back of 4 straight league defeats, Wenger knows this match